So this is Mon and Billy's project, and we're going to teach you how to make a 10 essential survival kit. So basically, your 10 essential survival kit, it has stuff from 10 different categories, which are your 10 essentials, and it prepares you to be prepared for pretty much any emergency situation you can face when you're doing outdoor activities. So it's important to always have this on you when you go in an outdoor activity situation so that you can be prepared if emergency occurs. So the 10 essential categories are navigation, sun protection, insulation, illumination, first aid, fire, repair tools, nutrition, hydration, and an emergency shelter. So for navigation, it's essential because your main goal usually is, if you're not trying to find your way out and you're trying to stay put, you at least want to have some idea of where you are when you're lost. So for this, it's important to have ideally a GPS with you, but if you can't have a GPS, it's ideal to have either a topographical map or a compass with you. And in our 10 essential kit, we're going to put a compass, which is attached to a whistle, which is also good for signaling people if there's anyone nearby looking for you, like search and rescue. For the next one is sun protection. Now, most people don't think of sun protection as an important category, but it's really important because it can lead to a lot of emergency medical conditions such as heat stroke, and it can also lead to certain burns. So for our sun protection in our kit, we're going to use a lip chap with a SPF of 15. So we're going to end up using that on our lips so our lips don't end up getting burnt. You can also use sunblock, sunglasses, and different sun hats. For the next category is insulation. A really big concern when you're lost out in the woods can be hypothermia, so it's important to make sure you know how to maintain your heat when you're in an emergency situation. So just a household item that's good for that is a garbage bag, because it reflects some of your heat back into your body when you're like cold in the nighttime and stuff. You could also use extra clothing or a foil emergency blanket that you can buy at Walmart for like $15. So we're going to use a garbage bag in ours. Next is illumination. It's important to be able to see where you're going in the night time for safety reasons and for navigation reasons. So for your kit, it's ideal that you could have a flashlight, and if you have a flashlight that goes by batteries, make sure you always have an extra just in case your batteries die. You can also have the makings for a torch, an emergency flare, or you can have one of those crank flashlights that you can get at Walmart that you just wind up so the battery never ends up dying. So we just use 2 normal flashlights for our emergency kit. First aid, you need to be prepared for pretty much any first aid emergency when you're in an emergency situation, so it's really essential that you have that in your kit. For us, we're going to have a triangle bandage, which can be used as a sling. We have a bunch of regular, typical band-aids just for regular cuts and scrapes. We have some gauze that we can use, and we also have hand sanitizer so that you're going to decrease the chance of infection when you're dealing with your wounds. It's important that you have stuff to make a fire for a source of heat, as well as you can cook food on it. So for fire, we're going to have matches, and we also have a lighter put in with some homemade fire starter, which is made from Vaseline and dryer lint. So that's all put into a waterproof container, so we just use a plastic bag, and we're putting it inside our container for 10 essentials, which is also waterproof once we seal it up. It's also really handy to always have a repair kit and tools. We're using just a typical knife, but any type of multi-tool is good for this. It's best if you have one that has a couple different tools on there. We just happen to have a knife on hand, so that's what we're using for ours. Nutrition, it's important to have a source of food when you're out in when you're in an emergency situation. So what we have is we have snares so that you can end up catching some food if need be. We have some tea, because it's always good to have hot beverages. If you end up getting cold, you can always boil water in your container that you have your 10 essentials in. So it's important to have something like that for a hot liquid. And we also have some food that doesn't spoil, like some nuts and some chocolate there that can end up going and providing you food for a little bit of time before you get set up with your snares and stuff. Next is hydration. So for hydration, you basically just need to have some type of container that you can boil water in and carry water in. So we're just going to use the container that we're keeping our 10 essentials in for that. And the last category is emergency shelter. So the garbage bag we put in earlier for insulation, that can also be used for your emergency shelter. You can also use rope and tape to build a shelter in the woods by like making a lean-to with a bunch of different sticks and stuff that you find in the environment. And so that's basically our emergency shelter, 10 essentials kit. You can close it up like that, and then it's nice and waterproof, and it's not too big so it doesn't take up too much room in your pack. When you're making your kit, you have to make sure that it's waterproof, like we did. Just in case it gets submerged in water, you don't want your kit to be marooned. You have to make sure it's a reasonable size to carry at all times, and it's good to go and make your kit according to where you plan on going. So this is just one that we would put in the back of a four-wheeler or a snow machine just in case we're in the country and end up getting lost in there or trapped. You can also make a smaller one if you're going backpacking. You can make larger ones if you're going on, say, a canoe trip. And you got to make sure how to use all the tools in your survival kit to their full potential. So, like the garbage bag, you have multiple uses for that, and it's also good to have proper first aid knowledge so you can get the most out of what you have in your kit. And when you're making a kit, always make sure you go and take it seriously, because you never know when you're actually going to have to use it.